Love did what seemed impossible. I never thought I'd begin a story with those words, because for most of my life I believed love was fragile, breakable, a dream that only belonged to others. I had grown used to the shadows of disappointment, the endless nights of asking myself why life always seemed to take away the very things I thought I couldn't live without. But what happened to me would challenge everything I thought I knew about love, about faith, about the strength hidden deep inside the human heart. I want you to come with me into this story, not as an observer, but as someone who might feel the same heartbeat I felt the day everything changed. This is not just a story about romance. It's a story about survival, sacrifice, and the kind of miracle that only happens when we are willing to give everything for someone else. And if you stay with me, I promise that by the end, you'll see why love is the one force that can truly do the impossible. It started on a day like any other, the kind of day you think will fade into the blur of memory. The sky was heavy with clouds, the kind of gray that makes you feel like the world is carrying a secret it doesn't want to share. I remember walking faster than usual, as if I knew something was waiting ahead. That's when I saw her. And no, this isn't one of those love at first sight cliches. It wasn't about fireworks or music swelling in the background. It was something quieter, something deeper. Her presence felt like a question, one that demanded an answer I didn't know how to give. She was standing there, not smiling, not looking around for attention. She was just present. And in that presence, I felt the kind of gravity that pulls you towards something before you even know why. That was the beginning, though I didn't understand it at the time. At first, love didn't feel like love. It felt like recognition. Have you ever met someone who makes you feel like you've been holding a conversation with them in your head for years, and only just realized they were real? That's what it was like. We spoke, and every word felt like a thread pulling us closer. I was terrified, because my heart had been broken before, shattered in ways I didn't think could be repaired. And yet there I was, listening to her laugh, watching the way her eyes lit up even when she tried to hide her emotions, and I realized something dangerous. I wanted to believe again. I wanted to believe that love could heal instead of destroy, that maybe, just maybe, it had chosen me one more time. But little did I know, the path we were stepping onto wasn't going to be easy. It was going to demand everything. The first challenge came swiftly, almost cruelly. Love didn't wait for us to settle into comfort. It tested us from the start. She had secrets, and so did I. And secrets have a way of clawing their way into the light whether you're ready or not. She told me about her past, the battles she had fought, the scars no one else could see. I listened, but my heart ached, because I recognized those scars. I had my own, and suddenly we were two broken pieces trying to hold each other together. Many people would have walked away. Many would have said, "This is too much, too heavy, too painful." But we didn't. We leaned in. And that choice, to lean into the storm instead of running from it, was the first impossible thing love helped us do. Then came the moment that changed everything, the night when the fragile balance we had built was ripped apart. I got a phone call, the kind that makes the world stop spinning. She had collapsed. A medical condition I didn't even know existed in her life had taken hold, and suddenly I was standing in a hospital hallway, staring at the pale light above the operating room doors. I remember the sterile smell, the sound of rushing footsteps, and the way my hands trembled as I whispered silent prayers into the empty air. I thought I would lose her that night. And for the first time in years, I cried without shame. I cried because I finally understood that love isn't just about laughter and warmth, it's about fear too. The fear of losing what your heart knows it can't survive without. But love didn't let go. She survived that night, though the doctors told us the road ahead would be brutal. Endless treatments, sacrifices, days where the pain would outweigh the joy. I looked at her lying there, fragile yet still trying to smile, and I knew I had a choice. I could run, like I had always done when life became too heavy, or I could stay. I could stand beside her in the fire, knowing it would burn, knowing it would demand more of me than I thought I could give. And without hesitation I chose her. Because love, real love, doesn't count the cost, it just gives. That decision, as reckless as it seemed, would open the door to the impossible. The days turned into months, and our lives became a cycle of hospital visits, quiet nights filled with whispered promises, and small victories that felt monumental. I learned to celebrate the little things, the way her eyes lit up after a good day, the sound of her laughter echoing in the silence of a sterile room, the warmth of her hand wrapped tightly around mine. Every step forward was a miracle, every setback a test of faith. And though exhaustion weighed heavy on me, something unexpected began to grow inside my chest. Strength. A strength I didn't know I had. Love was shaping me into someone new, someone who could carry more than I ever believed possible. And then came the impossible moment, the one that still makes my chest tighten when I remember it. After months of uncertainty, after nights where hope felt like a fragile thread ready to snap, the doctors looked at her and said words I will never forget. "She's healing." Against the odds, against every statistic, against the bleak predictions, she was getting better. It wasn't instant. It wasn't magic. But it was real. And I realized then that love had carried us where nothing else could. It had held us together through storms, through tears, through fears so deep it could have drowned us. Love had done what seemed impossible. It had kept her alive, and it had kept me alive too. Looking back now, I see that love isn't something soft or weak. It's the fiercest force in the world. It's the reason we endure, the reason we fight, the reason we believe when everything tells us to give up. Love isn't about avoiding pain. It's about choosing someone even when pain is guaranteed. And when you do, when you hold on with everything you are, love has the power to create miracles. I thought I was too broken, too lost, too afraid to ever find something like this. But love found me anyway. And in finding her, in choosing her, I discovered the truth. Love can do the impossible. So if you're listening to this, holding on to your own fears, your own doubts, wondering if love is worth it, let this be your answer. Yes, it's worth it. Yes, it's terrifying. Yes, it will test you in ways you can't imagine. But when the storm comes, and you stand your ground instead of running, love will meet you there. And one day, when you least expect it, you'll look back and see what I saw, that love didn't just heal what was broken. It created something stronger, something unshakable. Something impossible that became real. And that is the story I will carry in my heart forever. I remember the first morning she woke up without pain. The sunlight streamed through the window, and for the first time in months, her smile wasn't forced. It was radiant, free, alive. I sat beside her, holding a cup of coffee that had gone cold in my hands because I couldn't stop staring at her. That moment was small, almost ordinary, but to us it was everything. After all the nights of worry, after all the battles fought in silence, here she was, whole. I wanted to capture that instant forever, to freeze time and live inside that smile. Because in that moment, I knew we had made it through. Success didn't arrive like a thunderclap. It came slowly, like dawn breaking after a long, endless night. Every step she took outside the hospital felt like walking on holy ground. I remember her gripping my hand as she took her first steps back in the park we used to love, her legs still trembling, but her spirit unshaken. People around us walked by without noticing, but to me, it was a miracle unfolding in real time. Each breath she took outside those walls was a victory. Each laugh was proof that we had overcome. And I realized then, success isn't always about grand achievements. Sometimes it's just about standing when the world tried to break you. As the months passed, our lives began to look like life again. We shared dinners at our favorite little restaurant, celebrated birthdays with joy instead of fear, and planned for a future we once thought would never come. She returned to her passions, picking up the hobbies she had abandoned when her body was weak. The sound of music filled our home again, her laughter mingling with the melody, and I found myself thanking the universe every single day. Love had carried us through fire, and now we were walking on the other side. And yet, instead of scars, what remained was strength. There were people who had doubted. Friends who told me quietly that maybe I should prepare myself for the worst, that maybe holding on wasn't wise. But when they saw her standing tall, when they saw the glow in her eyes and the certainty in her steps, even they were silenced by the truth. Love had proven them wrong. What was once called foolish devotion became the greatest triumph of our lives. And I realized something powerful. Sometimes the impossible isn't there to break us. It's there to prove what love can build when nothing else seems strong enough. We began to dream again. Not small dreams born out of fear, but bold ones, the kind that paint the future in bright colors. We talked about traveling, about building a life filled with meaning and adventure. And for the first time, those dreams didn't feel fragile. They felt inevitable. Because we had already conquered the worst, and once you've faced the storm and survived, you stop fearing the rain. That realization changed everything about the way we lived. No more hesitation, no more waiting for the right moment. The right moment was now, and we weren't going to waste it. I looked at her one night as she told me about her plans, her eyes sparkling with the same fire I fell in love with. And I thought about how close I came to losing her, how close I came to losing myself. The truth is, success isn't measured by wealth or fame or recognition. It's measured by the moments you almost gave up but didn't. By the days you chose love over fear, faith over doubt. Our success was simply this. We were still here, still together, still standing against all odds. And that, to me, was worth more than anything else. People began to ask us about our story. They wanted to know how we endured, how we didn't break under the weight of it all. And I would always tell them the same thing: love is not a fairy tale. It's not easy, it's not without scars. But it's the most powerful force you will ever know. It's what kept her alive when the doctors gave up hope. It's what kept me steady when fear threatened to consume me. Love didn't shield us from the storm. It gave us the courage to walk through it. And in the end, it gave us victory. Sometimes, late at night, I would lie awake just listening to her breathe. Something so simple, so ordinary, yet to me it was the sweetest sound in the world. Because every breath was proof. Proof that love had done what seemed impossible. Proof that we had written our story with resilience, with sacrifice, with devotion that refused to let go. And every time I heard that rhythm of life beside me, I was reminded that miracles aren't always dramatic. Sometimes they're quiet, steady, unfolding slowly until you realize you're living inside one. Our success became more than just ours. It became a message, a story we carried in our hearts to share with anyone who felt too tired, too broken, too hopeless to go on. We wanted people to know that no matter how dark it gets, no matter how impossible it seems, love can carry you further than fear ever could. We wanted to remind the world that strength isn't about never falling. It's about rising again, hand in hand, stronger than before. And as we shared our journey, I watched hope ignite in the eyes of others. That was when I knew our story had a purpose beyond just us. And now, when I look back, I see the journey not as tragedy, but as transformation. The pain shaped us, the fear tested us, but love rebuilt us into something unshakable. We didn't just survive, we thrived. We walked through fire and came out shining, proof that love really can do the impossible. And every time I look into her eyes, I see not just the woman I love, but the victory we created together. A victory born from faith, endurance, and an unbreakable bond. And if there's one truth I'll carry for the rest of my life, it's this: when everything else fails, love will still remain, and love will still win. When we look back at this story, one truth becomes clear: love is not just a feeling, it is a choice we make every single day. In our daily lives, we often confuse love with comfort, thinking it only exists when everything is easy and smooth. But life rarely gives us comfort without struggle. The same way the story showed us nights in hospital rooms, silent tears, and fears that felt bigger than hope, our everyday reality brings challenges too: jobs that drain us, relationships that test us, and moments where giving up feels easier than fighting on. Yet, the lesson is powerful. When love guides our steps, even the most ordinary days take on extraordinary meaning. Waking up to face another day, supporting a friend who is struggling, or forgiving someone who hurt us. These are acts of love that may look small, but they hold the same strength that once carried two people through impossible odds. Think about the moments when you felt like you were at your breaking point. Maybe it wasn't a hospital, but a broken dream, a failing business, or a family crisis that left you questioning if you could endure. It is in those moments that we are faced with the same decision the story revealed. Do we walk away, or do we stand our ground? Everyday life is filled with battles no one else sees, silent storms we carry inside. And yet, what changes the outcome is not how big the problem is, but how deeply we choose to hold on. Success in life rarely looks like perfection. It looks like resilience. It looks like standing after falling, smiling after crying, loving after losing. The reflection here is clear. What we think is impossible often becomes possible when we dare to keep choosing love, even when it hurts. There is another powerful lesson hidden in the story. Small victories matter more than we realize. In our fast-paced world, we are taught to only celebrate the big milestones, promotions, weddings, financial success. But the story shows us that the true victories are the quiet ones, the ones that no one else may notice. A morning without pain, a laugh after weeks of silence, a step outside after months of confinement. These moments are proof that progress exists, even when it's slow. In our own lives, maybe it's the courage to get out of bed after a season of depression, or the patience to take one more step toward a distant goal. These little wins are not little at all. They are evidence of growth, signs that love and perseverance are shaping us into something stronger. If we stop waiting for grand success and start honoring the victories hidden in our everyday lives, we will realize that we are already winning more than we thought. Another lesson is about courage, the courage to stay when it would be easier to walk away. Our daily lives constantly test our loyalty, our endurance, our willingness to sacrifice. Maybe it's standing by a family member who is difficult to love, or committing to a dream that feels too far away, or choosing to forgive when bitterness feels safer. The story reminds us that real courage isn't about fearlessness, it's about persistence in the face of fear. We don't need to climb mountains or fight battles to be heroes. Sometimes being a hero means simply showing up, day after day, for the people we love and the dreams we carry in our hearts. And when we choose that kind of courage, we discover the same truth that was revealed in the story. Love transforms fear into strength, and weakness into resilience. Finally, we learn that love is not about avoiding pain but about creating meaning through it. Pain will always be a part of life, no one escapes it. But love gives us the power to rewrite what pain leaves behind. Instead of scars that remind us of loss, we are left with marks of strength, proof of what we overcame. In our own lives, every disappointment, every heartbreak, every moment of suffering has the potential to shape us into someone stronger, if we let love guide us. The reflection is simple but profound. Pain without love leaves us broken, but pain with love leaves us unshakable. And that is why the story resonates. It reminds us that no matter where we are, no matter what we face, love is the greatest force we can choose. It won't always change the circumstances, but it will always change us. Thank you for staying with me through this journey. If this story touched your heart, if it made you reflect on your own life, then I invite you to carry its message forward. Love is powerful, and so are you. Before you go, I want to ask you something simple but important. Subscribe to this channel, because here we share stories that remind us of what truly matters. Leave your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to know how this story spoke to you. And most of all, share this video with someone who needs hope today. Because together, we can spread the truth that love really can do the impossible.